Good morning, everyone. Today is Wednesday, April 6, 2022, and we'd like to welcome everyone to the board meeting. We'll call this meeting to order at 9 a.m. sharp. You can join today's board meeting via phone. Dial 971-254-3149, conference ID 736-023-979#. Audio capabilities are listen only and are offered on a best effort for the public. Our meeting is also live streamed. You can join us by going online to tctvonline.com and click on live broadcasts. Before we get started, I'd like to remind everyone to please mute your phones. You can do this by pressing *6. Please unmute your phone when your agenda item is ready to be discussed. For those joining via computer, please unmute your microphone and turn on your camera when your agenda item is called. All others must remain muted with their cameras turned off. Thank you. So public comment. Those intending to provide public comment to the board may attend in person or email submissions to publiccomments@co.tillamook.or.us. Public comments received by 12 p.m. on Tuesday will be distributed to the board, posted online before the meeting, and become part of the public record. You may also provide public comment virtually by registering ahead of time. To register, please email publiccomments@co.tillamook.or.us by 12 p.m. on the Tuesday prior to the board meeting. Public comments can also be mailed to the Board of Commissioners office, 201 Laurel Avenue, Tillamook, Oregon, 97141. For more information on public comment options, please visit the Board of Commissioners webpage. Isabel, do we have anyone signed up, or is there anyone in the room signed up for public comment?
We do not.
Anyone in the room? Thank you. So let's, I want to welcome everyone. I'm hoping everyone in the room has signed our guest list. And let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Commissioner Scarr, would you lead us, please?
I do it. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. So again, we have no public comment. I do not believe we have any non-agenda items. Is that correct? Perfect, thank you. Legislative Administrative, item number 5. Discussion and consideration of an out-of-state travel request for June Hemingway to attend the National Environmental Health Associates Conference in Spokane, Washington on June 28th, 22 through July 1st, 2022. And with us this morning, Marlene Putman, Administrator, Health and Human Services. Good morning, Marlene.
Good morning. Yeah, so things are starting to open up again with trainings both in and outside of the state. We do not always go to this National Environmental Health Associates Conference, but would like one of our environmental health specialists to attend this year, both for her growth and training and also the connections that are available through this conference. So we do have obviously the funding allocated for this purpose, but it is in Spokane, Washington this year. So we're seeking the Commissioner's approval for the out-of-state travel for June Hemingway, as you read in the description of the agenda item.
Perfect. So late May, early June in Spokane should be wonderful.
Should be lovely, and it's nice that it's actually relatively close, being in Spokane rather than somewhere far across the United States. So.
Okay, any other comments?
Sounds good to me.
Perfect. Looking for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move approval of an out-of-state travel request for June Hemingway to attend the National Environmental Health Associates Conference in Spokane, Washington on June 28th to July 1st, 2022.
I would second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you, Marlene.
Thank you so much. Have a good day.
Thank you. You too. Item number 6, discussion and consideration of a contract for goods with Contech Engineered Solutions, LLC for the Huey Creek Culvert materials. Chris Lady, Director of Public Works. Good morning, Chris.
Good morning, Commissioners. So,
Wait a
The-
minute, Chris, you need to explain what your background is there.
I'll get to that.
Okay, okay, all right.
So, Fairview Road at Huey Creek is closed due to concern over culvert failure. The culvert failure is, I believe it's a 6-foot diameter culvert. And typically when we do those larger size culverts, oftentimes those will be replaced with a bridge, but not all locations need to be replaced with a bridge. Sometimes they're similar to, what we see in the background. This is a multi-plate design, aluminum. And what you're seeing in my background is actually a culvert, multi-plate design culvert that was put in, got a better view of that. That was put in place by Columbia County. What we are looking for is to purchase the same materials. We're doing the design for this in-house because of the nature of it. We designed it just to the point, we continue to design it, but it was designed to the point where we knew what we wanted to put in place. At that point, once we knew what we wanted to put in place that would meet all the requirements, we then went out for quotes for 3 different companies to produce and deliver this product to us. The Contact is the outfit that is the company that became the lowest price. They're a very well-established company, and when these things get installed, they actually have a representative on site to assist. Have not determined yet whether or not the county forces will do this work or we will contract the services. It still needs to go through the permitting process, but instead of waiting for this material to be produced, we'd much rather have it in-house. And on top of that, because it's aluminum, steel is up 70% over what it was last year. So we also wanted to take advantage of material prices before we saw aluminum compete or escalate. One of the things too is that part of the question for the quotes is, did they even have aluminum in the yard that they can make this type of product? And all 3 of the companies that we asked had the aluminum in stock. So as soon as we knew that Contact was the low bidder, we asked them to hold it off to the side until we can get a contract signed if the commissioners choose so. So the cost in this particular case for the Huey Creek culvert materials, the Contact Engineering Solutions LLC, was a total cost of $51,125, and obviously I recommend approval of this contract.
Thank you, Chris. Questions, comments?
I think this is great. I'm glad we're moving forward on this relatively quickly. I know it's an inconvenience for folks who live in that area, and I appreciate their patience as we wait for the solution, and it seems like a good solution, Chris, so thank you.
Yeah, I agree, and I appreciate, with supply chain being what it is and the cost being what they are, trying to get ahead of that in any way that we can, so, I think this is a good idea.
Perfect. And Chris, I appreciate very much you thinking outside the box here. Oftentimes, these big culverts do need to be replaced with a bridge, which is a very expensive proposition. These culverts are expensive enough as it is. Again, you're thinking outside the box, buying the material, actually kind of putting the culvert together in your yard using your own personnel, whether you have your own public works department install it or not, that's open for discussion, and we appreciate your flexibility there. But people need to understand that, so Chris, how many culverts do we have in Tillamook County?
So the state of Oregon, ODOT, they manage 30,000 culverts across the entire state. So there's a lot more culverts than that, but that's how many ODOT manages, 30,000. Tillamook County, only our county, manages 3,000 culverts. So, and a third of those are in poor to failing condition. Obviously, these larger pipes are ones that are of the most concern. Some of those are smaller pipes. But these large pipes, this is actually a coho stream. So all the additional bells and whistles that we need to add to it to meet fish passage requirements are certainly that. We also look at, a lot of those ribs down at the bottom get blown out because of the material coming out of the mountains. In this case, it's fairly flat, so the ribs, why we chose the ribs in this case is we had low concern over the ribs being tore out. Plus, we're using aluminum, not steel. In the past, a lot of those culverts were steel that had rocks tumbling through them.
Thank you, Chris. And again, the reason I bring this up is that, you know, you're challenged with failing roads, failing culverts, all very expensive, especially in today's market. And so I appreciate you looking to any way you can to try to save money, to be able to maintain our road system, our infrastructure in the best way that you can. Again, I appreciate everything that you're doing there. I do. So with that, I think we're ready for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move approval of contract for goods with Contech Engineered Solutions LLC for the Huey Creek culvert materials.
I would second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. Thank you, Chris. You also have item number 7, a discussion and consideration of modification number 1 to professional services agreement number 6063 with Environmental Science Associates for the Kilchis House Draining and Flood Reduction Design Project. Chris?
So we modified in order to meet some of the grant opportunities, and we actually had ESA, Environmental Science Associates, do a slightly different scope. When typically you design it up to a certain point, and then the remainder of that is designed during construction. So sometimes that happens, and that was the case here. In order to, we shifted some of the things around. We still have FEMA money to do that. We shifted some of these things around to better meet obligations for the grant opportunities. The FEMA dollars accommodates up to $120,000 in design. We're asking for a net increase to bring the total contract with ESA to $95,741. Some of their additional services you will see in the contract for construction management when that is ready to go. So there is money available through the FEMA contract between them and us. This does increase ESA's scope to some degree. We shift some of the things from construction to design. So there is a net increase. We also extended the contract out to June 30th of 2022 as opposed to last December. So recommend approval of the contract, Tillamook County to Environmental Science Associates, ESA, for a total of $95,741.
Perfect. Comments, questions, concerns?
Great. Again, I'm delighted that we're moving forward on this, and that this is something that we'll be able to say, hey, we accomplished this, we got this done, and it's been a long time coming. So thank you.
Yeah, I agree. You know, this comes from the 2015 flood that we had. That was just that crazy storm that stalled, and the surface water was more than could be imagined. That really just, that little pond that forms at the fairgrounds, just it overtopped the little berm and straight down into that neighborhood, which includes Kilchis House, which is why it's called Kilchis House Drainage. But this repair, in fact, protects a great deal of that neighborhood that is currently struggling with the water that overtops the berm at the college, whether it gets all the way over the road into the Kilchis House or whether it just simply continues in the college parking lot and the drainage ditches that go through there. It's a constant problem. So I'm super excited that we are moving this forward, that we're going to be able to use the FEMA money, and it sounds like a smart shift here to use resources in the best way.
And Chris, someday soon, I'm hoping we can stop talking about repairing damage from the 2015 flood. I mean, we're still at it, and from what I understand, there's still many things that we need to get fixed from that 2015 flood. That was a big one, although it seems like we have big floods all the time. But something we have to do, and again, Chris, I appreciate very much all you do for the county. So with that, I think we're looking for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move modification number 1 to professional services agreement number 6063 with Environmental Science Associates for the Kilchis House Drainage and Flood Reduction Design Project.
And I would second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you, Chris. Moving on to item number 8, discussion and consideration of a prevailing wage contract for construction with Convergent Technologies for the Circuit Court Security Design and Installation Project. With us this morning, we have Damien Laviolette, Director, Information Services. Oh, no, I see we have Jeff with us this morning. Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm filling in for Damien this morning. Jeff Underwood, Information Services for the record. This item before you is to facilitate the courtroom 108 and conference room A and B swap. We're going to be installing some mag readers and cameras to support the new courtroom.
Perfect. We're looking forward to the day that we can start switching accommodations here. Any other concerns, questions?
No, terrific.
Nope, I think it's great.
Okay, perfect. We're looking for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move approval of a prevailing wage rate contract for construction with Convergent Technologies for the Circuit Court Security Design and Installation Project.
And I would second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Having none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Item number 9, discussion concerning amending the fee schedules for on-site sanitation and the Planning and Zoning Department in the Department of Community Development. With us this morning, we've got Sarah Asher, Director of Community Development. Good morning, Sarah.
Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you. So yes, before you is a new fee proposal for the Department of Community Development for the on-site sanitation and planning divisions. This is something that we have been discussing for the past few months and have had conversations at board briefings, including reviewing planning fees and sanitation fees from other counties and other comparable jurisdictions. This is another reiteration. We've had conversations about the timeliness of the increase, the appropriate extent of the increases for some of these applications, and then also making sure that while we know what it costs to do the work in the department, making sure that there's an incremental increase that's appropriate and attainable for our customers that we serve, that we're not pricing them out of fees for review applications in the department. And the reason why this has come up is for a couple of reasons. So first and foremost, costs have gone up. The planning division fees themselves have been raised twice since 2013. They were raised in 2013 and 2015, or adjusted, I should say, in 2015 as a result of a code modernization process that we went through for some of the sections of the land use ordinance. But I believe at that time, stamps were 45 cents. And when you do mailings of several hundred at a time for an application, that adds up. Our salary and benefits, our needs for cost of operations of the department have significantly increased since 2015. And what this fee schedule reflects is what I feel is appropriate for cost increases or adjustments to reflect actually what it costs the department to review an application. And not only for planning staff, but if you look at the fee schedule for the Tillamook County Public Works Department as well. So Director Chris Lady and I have talked about these fees and actually looking at what it costs Public Works to review a subdivision or to review a partition, whether it has a road construction proposal for a new private road because there's access requirements that go along with that, or whether or not there's a road already there and it doesn't. So the fees in the schedule are reflective of the work that we are required to do. The majority of the fees have not been increased more than 20%. In 2013 and 2015, the idea was at that time to do an incremental increase every year, and that did not happen. So what I did was a compound 3% interest if we would have continued to increase those fees over the last few years. And actually, some of these increases that I'm proposing today are less than what the cost would be if we would have done that. And so we feel it is absolutely necessary. We are really at a pivotal point in the department. We're trying to modernize our programs and our processes. You're going to hear about some of that later with the hazard planning work we've been doing. We're trying to work through digitization efforts, provide better customer service, and so all of that requires that we are able to collect appropriately for the review services that we provide. The sanitation fees were updated in 2018. DEQ actually helps establish those fees. So they set parameters on what local jurisdictions can charge because our on-site sanitation program, essentially we are an agent of the state for the Department of Environmental Quality. And so Chris Kiola, who is our on-site wastewater treatment program manager, is I think what he prefers to be. I call him the on-site sanitary or division manager. But he also went through his fees and proposed some amendments and adjustments where appropriate based on what he's seeing for the cost of review of these applications to be done. Following this, I will start working on the building division fees. We also have not increased those in several years, but that process I will have to work with the building codes division on. There's a statutory process for that that requires posting for 45 days through the building codes division. So that will be coming before you eventually as well, but I have to finish my process with them first before I bring those forward to the commissioners. So it's time. It's been a few years for some, it's been many years for others. And again, this is a step in our direction to keep our department operations running and to charge appropriately for the services we're providing.
Okay, perfect, thank you. Questions, comments?
No, I would just say that I know that we don't increase fees lightly. That's why it hasn't happened since 2015 for our planning and zoning. And yet we do have to be able to cover our costs as a county to operate. So I appreciate the work you've done, and I think that, you know, it is one of those things that we simply have to do to be able to offer the services. And I remind anyone to, we have our budget hearings coming up. If there is some area of concern that you have around how the county receives or spends funding, we invite you to attend remotely our budget hearings. The dates for those and the links for those are on the county commissioner's calendar. So I say this, and you guys hear me say it all the time, but it's that narrative that sometimes comes up in the public about the county or government in general and not spending funds wisely and how can we possibly be asking for more. And I just really encourage people, if you feel that way, reach out to one of the commissioners, reach out to the treasurer, attend our budget hearings, learn more about your county services, learn more about how they're funded, because we work really hard to make sure that we do the right thing with county funds and that we don't take more than we need. Fees specifically can only pay for the service that's being provided that meets the fee that's paid. So I mean, there really are restrictions and controls here. So I always get on my soapbox for that. Thank you for my few minutes.
Thank you for that. And so, it's my understanding we are not voting on this today. This is discussion only, our information. So you're going to be bringing this back to us at a future date?
Yes, thank you, Chair Yamamoto. My hope would be to bring it back in 2 weeks. I actually have a commitment next Wednesday with the local realtors to attend the meeting. And then what I would like to do, because I know Commissioner Bell, when we had conversations before, just making sure local contractors and others have adequate notice for these fee increases. I would like to go ahead and post that notice on our door, on our website, etc., and then have the fees go into effect July 1st with the new budget, if that's something that you would be agreeable to.
So, additionally, so we had an intent apparently in 2015 to do an annual increase, 3%, whatever cost of living, based on also on our labor negotiations, things of that nature. Is that something that we can do moving forward? Is that something we should do moving forward?
So based on where we're starting the fees, if the fee schedules are adopted as proposed, my recommendation would probably be more of a 1.5 or 2% increase. Some of these are still a little low based on the work that we do, but given our housing crisis and other, issues and challenges that we're all facing, I do want to make sure that these fees stay attainable. And so I would love an annual increase. That's something through our permitting program we could actually build in, but I don't think it needs to be 3%.
Okay.
And if I change my mind, I'll be back.
Thank you for that, okay. I don't see any other comments. I guess we're,
Not at this time.
Okay.
I think it's high time, it's probably past time, and it's, what I've read about your proposed, increases, they're pretty moderate.
one of the things that people need to understand is the county's biggest expense are personnel. And our personnel are essential to make this county work. We appreciate their work. That's why in labor negotiations and the step increases, things of that nature. So those are the reasons that we continue to have increasing costs here at the county level. So appreciate that very much. So we'll look forward to seeing you back again with these in 2 weeks.
Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Okay, moving on to item number 10, discussion and consideration of the adoption of a 2021-2022 non-represented salary schedule effective April 6, 2022. We have Sean Blanchard, our treasurer. Good morning, Sean.
Good morning, commissioners. Yes, before you, after working with Erin Frost, our HR director, Marlene Putnam, the Health and Community Health Department director, Marlene requested to have a community health communication and well-being manager position created for her department. She does have the funds for it, and this is revising the non-rep pay table and adding it to range 11. And I see she's on, so if you have any questions about the position, I would request that you ask her.
Okay. Marlene, do you have any comments on this position?
I do know that it is needed at the health department.
There she is. Marlene, any comments on this community health communications and well-being manager position?
Yes, I am actually really excited. It's a new position that we are creating in part based on the experience with doing so much outreach, communication, education of our community during the pandemic. We actually started the work prior to the pandemic. We were just getting started on assessments and reaching out to some of our hard to reach community, including people who don't have the internet and so forth. But this proved crucial in our work during the pandemic, and we had like 3 or 4 people trying to pull together different information. Now we know the key traits that we need for the position, and worked with Erin on making sure we got a good description, and with Sean on making sure that we had this pay, we hope, at least similar to what our other managers are receiving. And we encompass both the communications plan, which we have, and some of our new modernization work that's funded through the Oregon Health Authority to do even more outreach to our community. So again, we're excited about the internal, external, and broader picture of communication and community engagement that this position offers.
Thank you. Questions, comments?
No, I think this is great. Having been the director of communications at Adventist Health Tillamook, I can attest to how important this is. It's really important to be able to communicate with the community about services and issues and all kinds of things. And your department did a stellar job of that through the pandemic, an amazing job, but it will be a great benefit to you to have that centralized in a position that's dedicated to it. So I think it's terrific.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think everything's been said is very true. It's a great opportunity for us to really deepen our engagement in the community and ensure that we are reaching and serving our entire community.
Perfect. And Marlene, you had a very difficult time during the pandemic. You and your staff did just a terrific job. Hopefully we're getting out of that pandemic now. But I'm sure people that have been watching the commissioners' meetings for a while understand that you have been growing your department considerably, but people need to understand that that growth is not coming at the expense of the general fund. You do such a terrific job out there applying for grants for things that you feel are important to the community, and I think that's pointed up in the fact in the types of services that you actually offer to this community day in and day out. I want to appreciate very much what you've done in the past and what you will continue to do in the future. So I think it's a great thing. So with that, I think we're looking for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move approval of the adoption of the 2021 to 2022 non-represented salary schedule effective April 6, 2022.
And I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. Item number 11, discussion and consideration of the adoption of the 2021-2022 AFSCME union salary schedule, again, effective April 6, 2022. Sean Blanchard, Treasurer. Sean.
Good morning again, Commissioners. Yes, this is to revise and adopt the AFSCME collective bargaining salary schedule and adding a community health worker to range 10.
Perfect. Marty, I see you're still on. Any comments?
Yes, I feel like I'm saying, oh, I'm really excited for these new positions, but it has been a journey to try to, both pivot during the pandemic, but also in response to the current workforce development efforts that are out there. So we have been seeking public health nurses and other nurses to fill vacancies in our organization, on and off for years. And the addition of a community health worker position offers an opportunity to do some of that much needed outreach engagement with people with chronic disease or people that are unable to get in for appointments or even for home visit based work. A nurse that we do have can provide oversight, direction, and standing orders for a trained community health worker. So it allows us to fill those vacancies with a paraprofessional that is hopefully available in our current marketplace. And as Sean knows, we also created a pathway, a community health worker pathway position internally that allows our staff to say, hey, I'm interested in learning this role and figuring out how I can build my skills. So we look at their application and then select people to attend a training that we pay for within our organization, giving them an opportunity for advancement in the future. So there has to be a position for them to potentially advance to. Not everybody's going to get that opportunity for this one or two positions, but it does build their skills and it fills a gap for a much needed service. So I appreciate the work of Sean and Aaron Frost in helping create these new positions and moving them forward so we have more opportunities for folks in our community to meet the local needs.
Perfect. That just points up the fact that none of us work in a silo. Even though you're doing a great job there, you need the help of the treasurer and our HR director. It takes a lot of people to make soup, as it were. Comments, questions?
I'm fully supportive.
Yeah, I agree. I'm completely supportive. I think, we were talking about Chris Leidy working outside of the box, to figure out how to work within his supply chain and his staffing and those things. And this is an example of Marlene doing the same, just really looking and saying, how do we create positions that are appropriate for the folks who are living in our community and are interested in healthcare, but maybe don't yet have that degree, and give them an opportunity to step into that and really decide if this is right for them, provide some great services to the people in our community, and hopefully maybe step into the nursing program coming up at the college. you know, it's really looking at how do we meet the needs with, you know, the resources that are available. So I'm very supportive and also, as Marlene said, super excited for the pathway that's being created through our health department for this work.
Perfect. Great. We're ready for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move approval of the adoption of the 2021 to 2022 AFSCME union salary schedule effective April 6th, 2022.
I would second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. Sean, Marlene, and Aaron, thank you so much for everything.
Thank you, Commissioners. Thanks, Marlene.
Thank you.
Moving on to item number 12, discussion and consideration of an election modernization grant agreement with the State of Oregon's Secretary of State's Office for Elections, Equipment, and Technology. Cassie O'Neill, County Clerk. Good morning, Cassie.
Good morning, County Commissioners. Before you today, we have a stated election modernization.
Oops.
From her office is always
Yeah.
extra tricky.
You froze, Cassie. You wanna come upstairs?
She's outside.
Is it back up there, or it's back up?
Kinda,
Yes.
although I think you just froze again.
Maybe turn it off.
Yeah,
There we go.
there's a network problem with your connection, our connection.
So you might try turning off your video. That may clear up the bandwidth so we can at least hear you.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, very good. So I don't know where I cut out, so,
At the beginning.
the election. Okay. Through the Secretary of State's office, there's an election modernization grant agreements that are going to each county throughout the state. And before you, Tillamook County, if you look on page 2 of the agreement, we will be getting $15,000 if you so choose to sign this agreement. I have been in touch with Damien, Sean, and Joel in regards to this specific agreement, and they are all in agreement that it's good to move forward. In fact, we are working on getting new cameras within our department and a new TV and stand for our to comply with our security plan. Our previous one was that was purchased through the Secretary of State's office many years ago is starting to fail, and so we need to replace that, and so we are moving forward with that. So these funds will cover that.
Terrific.
Yeah, I think that's great.
Yeah, I agree. Elections are crucial.
Elections are crucial, and you can't knock going out for grants. It's perfect, it really is. So Cassie, I want to thank you for everything you're doing in the clerk's office, I do. So, looking for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move approval of an election modernization grant agreement with the State of Oregon Secretary of State's Office for Elections, Equipment, and Technology.
I will second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Having none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. Cassie, thank you so much, and let's see if we can get someone from IS down to work on your connection problems. Thank you,
Okay,
Cassie.
thank you so much.
Item number 13, discussion and consideration of a tax land installment contract with Gateway West Holdings LLC for tax foreclosed county-owned property previously offered at the November 5th, 2020 land sale auction, parcel number 4 in Township 4 South, 10 West, Section 27, tax lot number 104 in Tillamook County. And bringing this to us this morning is Rachel Haggerty, Board of Commissioners Chief of Staff. Good morning, Rachel.
This is a 1-acre parcel in Cloverdale. We offered it in 2020 for $33,300, which was the real market value at the time. In February, the Board of Commissioners accepted a letter of intent from Gateway to acquire the property. It is within the threshold, or it is above the threshold that allows for the purchaser to accept a contract to purchase the property, and they are exercising that option. And so before you is the tax land installment contract in the amount of The conveyance of the property is $33,300. They have put $6,660 down. We have that in hand, and so the balance of the contract is, the balance of the property is what is the value of the contract. So it is over 5 years at 10% interest, which is about $550 a year.
Perfect. Comments, questions, concerns?
No, I'm, thank you for your work on this, and I think it's terrific.
Yeah, I agree.
So I just have to say, Rachel, over the past years, you and the department have really stepped up and cleared our foreclosed property ownership, and that's terrific. I've done a lot of work on this, still lots of work to do, but we're making a lot of progress there, and I want to appreciate that so much. It gets this property back on the tax rolls, someone's buying it, sees value in it, so that's the reason they're buying it, and I think it's terrific. So with that, I think we're looking for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move approval of a tax land installment contract with Gateway West Holdings LLC for tax foreclosed county-owned property previously offered at the November 5, 2020 land sale auction, excuse me, parcel number 4 in Township 4 South, 10 West, Section 27, tax lot 104 in Tillamook County.
I would second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
I would just make a quick comment I should have made before that is around the appreciation of Rachel's work during our housing crisis to really look at each of these pieces of property to see if they could be part of that solution before we move to this level. And so, you know, I know that that's an added level of work, but I also want to let folks at home who are watching and wondering, with the housing crisis, why are we not giving all of these to a nonprofit somewhere to build? Some of them are simply not appropriate for that, and I know that that's part of our screening process. So.
You seconded.
I did.
Okay, well, sorry.
Sorry, that was additional comments, which we never have.
That's fine, that's right. So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. Thank you, Rachel. So we do have a 10:30 a.m. time certain first public hearing. Time is currently 9:42 a.m. So we are going to recess until 10:30 a.m. so that we can take up this first public hearing. So with that, we will recess this Board of Commissioners meeting.